everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. Today we're going to be covering a really simple grammar pattern, and that's going to be using the word muke and placing it after basically any given noun to express that something is made for noun, aimed at noun, intended for noun, is for the use of noun, oriented towards noun, something along those lines. And so that's basically the gist of it. The word muke, like I said, translates to all of the things that I just mentioned just now, and all we do is just plug it in after the word we want to use it with, and that's the grammar construction right there. On the more technical grammar that we have with this pattern, well, it can be used in basically one of three ways, and the first one is when we're just trying to make an outright statement. We just basically want to express that is made for noun. And what that'll boil down to is basically just using the respective conjugation of the word des right after the word muke, and we'll just have our statement there, and it's really simple. Our second option is basically when this grammar pattern is going to be describing the means of a verb action, and in that case we would follow the word muke with the particle ni, because the particle ni is commonly used to describe an action. And in our last case, this is just going to be using the grammar pattern as a modifier to a noun basically, and we're just going to plug in the particle no right after the word muke, and yeah, that won't be a complete sentence because it'll just be modifying a noun and not acting as its own standalone statement. If we wanted it to just be a standalone statement, it would be basically number one of our usages, and this one is number three, where we just modify another noun. And then we can go on to say something else about that noun and complete the sentence if we want to, and whatever. And so with that, now we're just going to go into three example sentences, and it's just going to be one each for each of the possibilities that we're trying to use this grammar pattern with. And so for our first one, we'll of course do just the blunt statement. And so for our first example sentence, we just have the line このアニメは子供向けですが、大人が見ても面白いものがあります. And so let's break down this sentence bit by bit. First up, we have the word kono, which means this. It's going to be an adjective basically to anime, which is anime, so this anime. We have the particle wa, marking this anime as the topic of the sentence. Then we basically employ our grammar pattern here, and so this anime is going to be described as kodomo muke. And this is of course kodomo, which means children, plus the muke, which means oriented towards or aimed at or intended for. So kodomo muke means aimed or intended for children, and so that's modifying the anime, so this anime is intended for children. Then right after muke we have the word des, because this is a polite sentence for whatever reason. And so with that, we're basically done covering the grammar pattern in its usage as just a direct statement, but we did make the sentence a little longer by adding a second clause, so let's go through that. So right after des we have the particle ga, which is going to make this into a conjunction that means but basically. Then after that we have otona, which is going to be adults, the opposite of children basically. We have the ga, marking that as the subject. We have mitemo, which basically translates to even if adults watch. Then right after that we have omoshiroi mono ga arimasu, and omoshiroi is the adjective that means interesting basically. Mono is the word that means things, so interesting things, and the ga aru grammar pattern to basically be an existential statement, so there are interesting things even if adults watch them. So all together once again, このアニメは子供向けですが、大人が見ても面白いものがあります, as this anime is aimed or intended for children, but there are interesting things for adults too. For our next example sentence, we're now going to use this grammar pattern basically to describe a verb action, and for our line we have the really simple sentence 女性向けに作られた映画が少ない. And what this line is going to translate to is just basically movies that are made for girl audiences are scarce. So let's break down the sentence bit by bit. First up, we just have josei, which is the word that basically means girls or females. We have our grammar pattern here, so muke, so aimed for girls or intended for girls or made for girls. Now we have the particle ni right after it, because this is going to be describing a verb action, and our verb action is the verb sukuru, which means to make basically, and it's plain past passive form. And this verb action itself will be modifying the noun right after it, which is eiga, which is movies. And so basically that's going to become movies that are made. We add that to the first part of the sentence, and we have movies that are made for girls. Josei muke ni sukurareta eiga. So there we have our grammar pattern that's modifying a verb action that in turn modifies a noun. but that means that our sentence isn't complete yet because all we really have is the subject, and we need to actually say something about the movie since it's the subject of the sentence and it still doesn't have a valid descriptor or a grammatical descriptor. And so we finish the sentence by just saying ga sukunai, and this is basically just saying it is sukunai, which is basically an adjective that means not a lot of, or in this case, scarce. And so once again, our sentence is going to translate to movies that are made for girls or intended for girl audiences are rare or small or scarce. 女性向けに作られた映画が少ない. Now for our last example sentence, we're going to be using this grammar pattern with a particle no right after the word muke to make it a modifier of a noun. So for our example sentence, we have the line この老人向けのサイトは簡単な情報の表常識があるべきだ. And so what this line will translate to is basically this website that is intended for older audiences should have a simple graphical representation of information. So let's break down this sentence bit by bit. First up, again, we have kono, which means this. It's going to be modifying the noun right after it. And the noun right after it is rojin, which basically translates to elders or elder people or older people. We have the muke right after rojin because they're going to be the noun that we're using the grammar pattern with. So intended for older people. And so what is intended for older people? Well, we're going to find out right now because we're using this grammar pattern to modify a noun. So we have the no right after the word muke, and then we have the word saito, which is basically the katakana version of the English word site, which is an abbreviation or short form for website. Then we have the wa marking the site as the topic of the sentence. Then after that we have the na adjective kantan, which means simple. We have the particle na right after it because we need the na right after na adjectives if it's modifying a noun. Then we have the noun of noun modification, making this noun that is joho no hyōjō shiki, which is basically graphical representation of information. Pretty complicated word. How a website is presented with all of its graphics and information and whatnot. So basically a graphical presentation of a website. Then we have the ga aru, which is of course to have, but we're going to be modifying it with another grammar pattern, which is the dictionary form of verb plus the word beki to mean should verb, and so that would turn into should have. And so all together we combine the sentence and we have this website that is intended for older audiences should have a simple graphical presentation of information. この老人向けのサイトは簡単な情報の表常識があるべきだ. And so yeah, that's how we're using the word muke right after noun to basically mean for noun or intended for noun or aimed towards noun or for the use of noun, and we can see how it is quite intuitive in its definition. Basically, you're just saying that maybe something was created for a certain audience or a certain demographic or something along those lines, and you can use it to modify another noun, you can use it to modify a verb action, or you can just use it to state bluntly that is made for something. And so yeah, this is definitely one of the easier grammar patterns, but of course definitely good to know because it will show up very often if it's quite simple, and yeah.